All right, so we're covering a collar tie today, which is a really common tie, maybe the most common tie that's used in the sport of wrestling. It's fairly common in jiu-jitsu as well. And so a collar tie, I'm grabbing my opponent on the back of his head near his collar, why it's called a collar tie. And then really how I'm using, well, and also even while I'm reaching for it, I got to be careful not to come reaching too slowly for my opponent's head with my lead leg hand, right? So if I'm reaching with my trail leg hand, that's a lot safer. I also, I can come quick with a little bit of a club, and that also makes it a lot safer as I'm coming for my control ties, for my collar ties. But I want to make sure to avoid letting him time my reach and my step so that he doesn't get underneath my tie, right? But again, collar tie, a couple different ways I can use it. So one is I can shove with it. I'm back this way a little bit, right? So I'm using my forearm against his kind of neck and collarbone there, and I'm pushing, right? So I'm using it as almost like a frame. But while I'm pushing, I'm also pushing with my feet, right? So that's one of the ways that I can use a collar tie is really to block his body. Another thing that I can do with it is I can pull or snap with it, right? So now I'm coming hard on the back of the head, and I'm pulling with it here, right? So I can push, and I can pull, and you notice both times I'm using my feet. I'm pushing and driving with my feet. I'm snapping, pulling, I'm backing away. And then a third thing that I can do with this is I can kind of create a circle motion. So I can take him sideways, right, and I can circle with that, which really allows me to create angles and pummel into other kinds of ties. So again, this really, right, and the reasons why people like collar ties is, number one, it gives me control of the inside space, which a lot of guys like that because it allows me closer access to the body, to the legs, inside his arms, right, which can help me get his arms out of the way so that he can't defend against shots. But also gives me a ton of control over his body because I'm grabbing onto his head, which allows me to move him really well. And also, over the course of a match, the more I'm hanging on his head, the more it's wearing him out. He's working a lot harder than I am when I'm hanging on his head. So, very effective tie, something that gets used quite a lot in wrestling and in jiu-jitsu.